iniciando mais um Vox PopCast e hoje iremos rumo ao infinito e além, pois tenho a honra de receber ele, que foi engenheiro do Kennedy Space Center, que é o espaçoporto de lançamento de veículos espaciais da NASA. Estou falando, é claro, de Gabe Gabrielle, que também foi diretor de engenharia do Comando de Operações Especiais da Força Aérea dos Estados Unidos. Tenho certeza que esse papo será inesquecível e intergaláctico. Hoje falaremos sobre o funcionamento da Estação de Lançamento Espacial, também sobre curiosidades e dificuldades que os tripulantes vivenciam quando estão no espaço. Para nos acompanhar, recebo hoje também Marcelo Souza, que é o coordenador-geral do Clube de Astronomia Louis Cruz, e Késia Barboli, professora de Física e astrônoma. Well... From now on, Vox PopCast will be in English, but don't worry, because we'll have subtitles here, so you can join us on this adventure to infinity and beyond. Gabe, it's a pleasure to have you here. I have loved everything related to space since I was a little girl, so it's an honor to be able to talk to someone who really works there, né? And lived that reality so closely. I'm excited beyond words to hear everything you have to tell us today about your life, about space, about the space program, and everything that happens at NASA, or at least everything that we can know.
Yes, I will be happy to share with you.
And it's a pleasure to have you two here.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to me.
I count on you to help me during this interview because it's new to me to speak in English.
Oh, you're doing excellent.
Thank you so much.
Very well. I wish my Portuguese was as good as your English.
It can be because you come here a lot in Brazil, right?
Yeah, 30 times.
30 times?
Yes.
And what do you like most?
The people.
The people.
Yeah, the people in Brazil, I say the people in Brazil. I've been to 18 countries around the world. And the thing I know most about the Brazilian people, you have the kindest hearts in all the world.
That's so nice.
And I'm always thankful for the kindness. I get kindness everywhere I go. But Brazilians just seem to be happier people and more giving and always having fun, you know, and lots of barbecues.
Yeah, we do really like barbecues.
Yes, I know. I do too, so it's good for me.
And I guess we are always very happy to have someone here who have a nice history to tell us. And you have a really cool history. I'd like to know more about it.
Yeah, so one of the things I talk about is my struggles as a kid growing up. I really did struggle in school. I really hated school. I did really, really bad. So when I talk with students, I look for the ones who are struggling. The ones who do really well, I can't relate to. But the ones who are struggling, I understand what it's like. And I always try to tell them about my life, that how I struggled in school, how I hated school, how I did terrible. But I learned to enjoy it. I learned to go to university. And I learned you don't have to be so smart to go to university. And I try to encourage the kids. I really try to encourage the kids in Brazil to learn English. Most everybody in Brazil speaks English, some English, yes, but they're afraid to talk. Every time I come to Brazil, doesn't matter what part of the city, what part of the country, they say the same thing to me. Everybody says the same thing to me in English. I don't speak English. It happens every time. But they understand and they can speak. And I try to explain to them, if you learn English, you know, Brazil is a great country, but there are limited opportunities, yes, for students. So if you learn to speak English, you can go to school anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. You can get a job anywhere in the world. So I try to encourage them because they really can do well. They're just, for some reason, I don't know why they're afraid to speak. So I try to encourage them not to be, it's only talking. You know?
I guess it likes a bit of confidence.
Yes.
When we talk to someone who is a native speaker. I'm feeling a bit more confident now because I spent like 4 years abroad in the United Kingdom. So I used to speak in English a lot. So I was like, yes, okay, we can talk. But I guess here in English, we don't have many, here in Brazil, we don't have many opportunities to speak in English all the time. So it's really nice to hear the things you have to say and be able to communicate, which is very, very important. So
I try to let the kids know that I don't listen to the words. I just try to listen to the idea. And I'm not going to criticize them if the words are incorrect. I just want to listen to the idea. And I'm always thankful any English they speak. I love talking with everybody, but I don't speak Portuguese. So if you wait for me to speak, we never talk. But about English, I'm very thankful for. I'm never critical. And I try to let them know, just talk, It's only talking. And the more you speak, the better you will get, the easier it will be.
That is true.
Yeah.
You were in very interesting school when you were young. So how did you became an engineer?
So for me, I really did poorly in school. And I really decided after high school, I was never going to go to school again. But I like to race cars. My hobby is racing cars, and you need a good income to race cars. So after high school, I tried many different jobs to try to generate the income to race cars, and nothing was successful. So after 12 years, I said, okay, I have to find a way to generate more income.
Yeah.
The only way I'm going to do that is to go to university. And I was playing a lot of sports, and it was really interesting. I don't know why, but one of the guys I was playing sports with said to me, I was driving a truck at the time, and he said, why don't you go into engineering? And I don't know why he said that or where it came from, but it gave me an idea how I could do something better. Right. So from that, I started going to university at night. It took me 8 years to finish university at night. And so I became a civil structural type of engineer.
And you were an engineer. So how was like this pathway for you to work at NASA?
It was actually pretty simple. I was in the Air Force, and I was in Cocoa Beach, Florida, which is close to Kennedy Space Center. I'm always on the beach. And I was on the beach, and I saw a shuttle launch. And I said to my friends, what is that? They said, it's a shuttle. Where is it? It's Kennedy Space Center. And I thought to myself, when I get out of the Air Force, I want to try to do something like this because it really looks fun. Mm-hmm. So when I got out of the Air Force, I had some friends at Kennedy Space Center. And I called them, like, hey, can you get me a job? And this is something else that was interesting. I said, can you get me a job? And they said to me, what can you do? I said, anything. You get me the job, I'll learn how to do it. And the guy said to me, that's really a great answer. But in my mind, I was thinking, I want this job, I'll figure it out, I can do anything. So it was a really good answer. And there was an open position for a civil structural type of engineer. Right. And I had the availability, and so I got the job.
I really believe in that you have to just go for it.
Yes.
And you can learn on the way there.
Always. I always say to kids, when in doubt, do it. It does not matter. If you have any doubts, no matter what it is, you do it. You will never regret doing it. You will always regret not doing it. So when in doubt, just do it. And you have that confidence in yourself. You
True.
Never doubt that you can do it when you say you can.
So you were there at the Kennedy Space Center. What happens there? How is like a normal day in there?
So I always tell everybody, and I've been to 18 countries around the world, and the kids are always asking me, what is it like to be at a Space Center? What do you do every day? Is it fun? And I say to them, it's magical. It's the most fun you could ever think of. Everywhere you look on the buildings, the walls, everywhere there's pictures of space, nice. Of the stars, of astronomy, of the solar planet. All your mind is always going to these magical places. It's just amazing. And then you see a big building. They put a spaceship together, and it goes to these magical places. So your imagination becomes reality. It's just so much fun for me. I never get tired of doing it. Every day when I was driving out there, it was just magic. And it's still magic today.
Yeah, I find it very magical. I have a friend who went there. I think you went there. You and Pedro went there.
Yes.
Was it the Kennedy Space Station?
Yes.
I saw some picture and I thought it was really cool. I hope to go there one day.
Yes, I hope you will. And I always invite people to come over and go to NASA, go to Kennedy Space. A lot of people come to Florida. They go to Disney World. They go to SeaWorld. They don't go to Kennedy Space Center.
Yes.
They just think the attractions are more important. But Kennedy Space Center is a magical place. And when you go there, you get lost into this magic. You see things with people going on Mars. You see, the future of the space program. It becomes reality. It's just so much fun. I really encourage anybody who comes to Florida, not only to go to the Space Center, but to all the attractions as well.
Something that's important is that you have the place where they launch the rockets, but they also have a center where they popularize the science there.
Right.
It's something that we in Brazil need to know how to do this, to use all the space to popularize science. This is something that's very important there. It's not only a place where the astronaut, where they have the ships, they have the rockets, is also a place where you know more about science. And this is something that's very important.
It is very important because I think since we are kids, we see like in films, in TV series, we see a lot about space, and we're like, oh, that's cool, but you don't really think that you could go there or even work somewhere that helps people go in there. So I guess when you have that, like in your city or near you, you can really tell those kids that maybe you won't go to the moon, but you can be interested in science, and you can see what people are doing, the innovations, the technology, and they can have a role in all of this.
I try to tell the kids all of the time, not everybody wants to go to space. Not everybody wants to be an astronaut. And even if you do, very few have the opportunity. But you can help others go to space. When you're on Kennedy Space Center, to me, you can cut the grass. It's still magic. It's not what you do, it's where you do it that makes it so much fun.
Yes.
And just like Marcelo says, there's so many things around it that bring your mind into science and bring your mind away from the everyday life into some magical environment. And in Brazil, I don't know why, in Brazil more than any other country, kids seem to be mostly interested in science. And I know many girls in America right now going to university who want to be Brazil's first female astronaut. This seems to be a driving force with many, many young girls in Brazil. They want to be Brazil's first female astronaut. And one is going to Embry-Riddle University in Daytona Beach, Florida, studying aeronautical engineering. Many of them are doing this course, and they're doing extremely well. One of them will be this. And one of the kids, I talked to the kids today, some of you will walk on the moon. Some of you will walk on Mars. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen in their lifetime.
I think that's really cool, especially because we don't really see women in these huge roles in science. So I'm really glad. There's a program, right?
Well, there's more and more women getting involved. And I talked to kids today about women today compared to 20 years ago. Girls today are extremely athletic. They're very competing in sports. They're much different than they were 20 years ago when they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Now girls compete in all sports. They play basketball, they play soccer, they play tennis, and they're very, very good athletes. And they're very strong and they're very smart. So women have a great role in everything. And I always say, we think differently. When you put us together, you get a much better product.
I want to ask Kezia because she's a girl. And she's in the astronomy club with Marcelo. What do you think about that, about this role of women in science?
We have a long history, né? And I think we need to change a little bit, talking about the numbers, right? Of how much women in science we have. I think it's very important to keep doing these programs to do the science outreach, because it's a way that maybe kids could think about science is possible, because sometimes maybe women or girls couldn't think that it's possible to be a scientist because it's a far reality. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can put in these terms, but that's why the most important thing to do more and always do a lot of programs to include people to talk about science. Yes. And include them, so then we'll be maybe more confident to study more and become a scientist. As a girl,
pursue dreams.
Yes.
Right.
I think it's more important for more women to speak with girls as well.
Yes.
If I speak with girls, they really can't relate to me and say I could be like him. But if a girl is speaking to a girl, it gives them, I can be like her. I think I'm always encouraging women to get more involved in speaking with girls in schools, because you need a good role model, somebody you can think, I can be like her. And it's really important for that to me. And not enough women do that. But I know I just came from a rocket competition, and 3 girls, there were many teams, 3 girls on a team won the rocket competition.
Nice.
And it was really pretty good for them. You know, mostly 90% are guys. But these 3 girls formed their own team, and they actually won. So girls, to me, are very smart, and they're very, very able to do things today that they didn't before because they know they can. They had the ability before, but they never had the opportunity.
Yes.
In Brazil, we have a famous scientist at NASA that is Rosalie Lopes.
Mhm.
That's a Brazilian that worked at the Cassini mission, and now she's director of a famous magazine of science, and she works at the JPL.
And
There's
what
an
mission was
example.
What mission was that?
Cassini to
Yes.
Saturn.
Ah,
A
nice.
mission to Saturn. She is one of the most important scientists about volcanoes
Cool.
in the world. He is a Brazilian.
So every time I have the opportunity, I always talk about this thing about women in science with girls, women, and because I think it's I need to do that. Unfortunately, we just can find more men than women in academy, in maybe in centers here in Brazil, and so me, Kezia, as a woman in science, I think I have this work to talk with another people about this rule.
Yeah, I think it's very important, and I'm glad you're doing that. And when you're doing it, you're showing them I can do it, so can you. When they see me, they don't think, well, he can do it, I can do it. They see you and they really think, I can do it if she can do it. So it's so important you do that. Yes.
And I guess this program today, Vox PopCast, is very important for it as well because, like, our audience is very vast. Like, we have gamers, we have people that like pop culture, we have nerds in general, and there are a lot of people that are interested in science. So I guess they will be very excited to watch us today. And I think they wanted to know more, like what happens, like how is the treatment to go up to space? What do people do? Like what do these astronauts do before they can go up to space?
So I'm a civil structural type of engineer. Same thing I do at Kennedy Space Center at NASA. A civil structural engineer would do the same thing here in Brazil.
Yeah.
It's the same job, the same thing. You deal with roads and bridges. You deal with the infrastructure, buildings and roofs. It does not matter what you do. It's where you do it that makes it special. So for me, the surrounding area where you are, where you have ships going to space, where you have all this access to the history of the space program, every day is magical for me. I never get tired of going there. 8 years ago, I quit my job at Kennedy Space Center so I could become a full-time speaker. And I travel around the world sharing the magic of the space program. But when I'm in Florida, I still go to the Space Center as a volunteer. Anytime there's a launch, people come from around the world. And they need to be escorted because they need to stay in a certain place, kind of be looked after. So I'm a foreign national escort. A group of people from Brazil might come to Kennedy Space Center. I would accompany them on a bus, or I would go with them just to help answer questions. And for me, I stay involved in the Space Center that way in the space program.
And how is the launch? Like, can you paint us like a mental picture?
Yeah. Okay, so what I like to do with the mental picture of the launch. So when we had the space shuttle, it stopped flying about 11 years ago. Its mission was to build the International Space Station. Once the space station was completed, it stopped flying. But when it was flying, to see the launches was amazing. I talk about if you fly in a plane, you get on a passenger terminal, it takes you to a runway, and it stops, and they build up power building the engines. They have the brakes on so it doesn't move. When they have enough power built, they take off horizontally.
Right.
The space shuttle is on a pad going vertical, but it's the same thing. They start the engines, and it's locked down. It's trying to take off. It has 3 million kilos of lift. That means to go up, you have to push down with 3 million kilos. So they're starting the engines, they're building power, and they're building power. It's trying to take off, but it can't take off because it's locked down. We're 5 kilometers away. You really can't see it, and you really can't hear it, but you kind of know where it is, and you're kind of looking, and you're looking at it, and then you get a little vibration in your feet. It's trying to take off so hard it shakes the earth. So you have this vibration in your feet, and all of a sudden, all of the cars feel it. They think somebody's trying to break in. So the horns are honking, the lights are flashing, sirens are going off, and your body is shaking. It's just the most amazing thing. And when it takes off, it goes really, really slow, makes a turn, and it's gone. And you're watching it and watching it. You still don't hear anything. You're watching it, then you hear it over there. It goes so fast, leaves the sound behind. So it plays mind games with you. To me, it's just so much fun. I go to every one. I never get tired of them. They're just, the night ones are really spectacular.
What's the difference?
The difference is during the day, everything is lit. At night, everything is dark. And when we go out to see a shuttle launch at night, everything is lit. Like if you go to a football match in Brazil, everything is lit. It's like daytime. So we go out 2 or 3 hours early with our friends. We have a party for the launch. 5 seconds before the launch, they shut off all the lights. So you're sitting there and it's pitch black. The shuttle is about 5 kilometers away. You can kind of see it. But when it takes off, the lights from the engines hit the water and go back up. 1 second is nighttime, the next second it's daytime. It changes night to day in 1 second, and it's amazing. And the sound it makes, there's nothing like it. It's a banging, rumbly kind of sound. It's just so much fun. I just love the launches.
And how's the tension, like with everyone watching it?
Oh, everybody's clapping, everybody's jumping up and down, everybody's, especially those who've never seen it before. One of the reasons I like to be this foreign national escort, I'm going out there with people who've never seen a launch before. And when you see it for the first time, there's nothing like it. You don't know what to expect, and your expectations, even though you don't know what they are exceeded. It's just a blast at night. It really is. It's fun. Daytime is great, but for me, the night times are even more fun. And now we have SpaceX that actually has the boosters come back down. Mm-hmm. So you see them go up, and then you see them come back down. It's really, really special. I encourage everybody, if you have the opportunity to go to Kennedy Space Center, to go and to try to see a launch. They launch now. SpaceX is a commercial company. It's launching every week, sometimes 2, 3 times a week, sometimes 2 times a day.
Really?
It's just amazing. I'm a swimmer. Sometimes I'm in the pool and I'm watching rockets go off. You know, it's just great, a great magical environment.
And can people just like go and watch it, or you?
Yeah, well, there's a commercial company called Delaware North. Mm-hmm. So you have to buy a ticket from Delaware North and you go out there. Just like you go to Disney or some of the attractions, you buy a ticket, you spend a day at the Space Center. They have bus tours of the Space Center. They have the Shuttle On exhibit. They have Mars exhibits. They have many, many things. 2 IMAX theaters. Nice. You can spend you actually spend 2 days there just getting involved with things that are going on. I really encourage everybody to do it.
That's really cool. Have you seen it?
Yes, and you also have an opportunity to train like an astronaut.
Really?
Yes. You have a special building. It's another program that you can go there. You can simulate how to fly.
And how is it? How do astronauts prepare for zero gravity? Because I went to Disney World, and then there was this attraction where they kind of simulates like the launch.
Yeah, the shuttle launch.
And I thought, like, how do they do that? Because it's really, it's a really weird sensation.
It's virtual. You know, you put on these goggles, and you're sitting there, and your mind is seeing what you're seeing, but then you're also getting the vibration.
Yes.
It's really, when they first started this thing at Disney, it was so powerful that many people got scared, so they had to tune it back down. But yeah, I've been on it a long time ago. I really don't go to Disney anymore because it's so crowded, but people come from around the world and they don't mind the crowds.
And how is the treatment for astronauts that are actually going to space? Like, how do they deal with that with zero gravity? It's like in a pool. I heard that it's a swimming pool.
Yeah, so what they do, they have to train to go to space, and they have to train to be able to do things while they're floating.
Yeah.
And just like everybody, we have to learn to do that before we can do it. And you have to learn to do it on Earth where gravity holds you down. So you can't float on Earth, but you can float in water on Earth. Right. So NASA in Houston, Texas, built this big pool at Johnson Space Center. It's about 14 meters deep by 30 meters wide by 40 meters long. And they call it a neutral buoyancy laboratory. Buoyancy means you float. Neutral buoyancy means you don't float, you don't sink. So if we jump in the water, our body is buoyant. We float on top. They put a weight belt around your weight, proportional to your weight. So you go down 7 meters and you stay there. That's called neutral buoyancy. and they practice for a whole year everything that they're going to do in space.
Right. And they have to exercise, right? Because they have to think about their muscles.
Yeah. When they're in space, normally in space about 6 months, they stay on the space station. 6 astronauts are on there. They rotate 3 every 3 months. So there's 6 astronauts on there for 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, if you don't exercise every day, you don't use any muscles because nothing weighs anything. Even on Earth, just moving your arm around, you generate muscles. Mm-hmm. In space, nothing weighs anything. So they exercise every day, just like on Earth. They have a stationary bike, a lot like on Earth, but it doesn't have a seat because you're floating. They have a treadmill, which is really cool. The treadmill is not on the floor, it's on a wall. Now, one of the modules on the space station is called cupola. Mm-hmm. It was designed by Italy, and it's a big glass module. And if you go to the Kennedy Space Center, in one of the IMAX theaters, there's a mock-up of that module. So they're on a wall, and they're floating above this module, looking down on Earth. So they're running on a treadmill, looking down at the solar system and the Earth. It's great for them. And the other thing they do looks like lifting weights, but nothing lifts weights. Nothing weighs anything. So it's hydraulics or liquids. They try to compress liquids. Liquids do not compress, which creates a resistance to build muscle. But they love going into space. You know, I mean, most of them had this dream as a little kid, and they're living this dream. And most of them really enjoy it. They're just having fun doing something they love. I mean, can you imagine floating around and just, it's got to be fun.
Yeah, float around and just see, like, floating, like, I'm just floating here, seeing those beautiful views.
Yeah. It's a laboratory. They do a lot of experiments in space. They're learning to live in a weightless environment. Basically, they're learning to go from one planet to another. You're weightless, and you have to learn to live in that weightless environment. So on the space station, they're learning to live in this weightless environment. They're doing a lot of experiments, medical experiments. It's a sterile environment that we can't do on Earth. Right. They're learning to grow food in space with no soil. So when you go to another, there was actually a movie called The Martian, and I don't know if anybody has seen The Martian, but I
watched it yesterday.
Yeah. So it's a real cool movie, and it really depicts what's going to happen. The astronauts live in a domed area where they can take off their spacesuit and breathe. And they also have a car that they drive around. That car really exists. Mm-hmm. But it really depicts what's going to happen in the future. Probably, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 years, people might be living on Mars. People can probably go to Mars today. The biggest challenge with going to Mars, it takes 7 months to get there. And because of the way the planets go around the sun, mm-hmm. once you get there, you have to stay 23 months before you can come back. So it's not so much getting to Mars or coming back. How do you survive in Mars in this terrible environment? Yes. You can't breathe the air. Radiation is terrible because the atmosphere is thin. The weather is terrible. There's nothing that humans can enjoy on Mars because it's so different. So they're going to have to learn to do a lot of things. And the movie The Martian kind of depicts what it's going to be like.
So is that why they do those experiments to actually, do you think that's really going to be like a colonization mission?
Yeah.
Because that's what they are trying to do there, right?
People talk about colonizing Mars. My personal view, I don't speak for NASA, I don't speak for anybody, but my personal view is it's going to be a long, long time before they try to colonize Mars. You know, astronauts may stay on Mars for 23 months and come back, but they're going to have to build a whole environment where you can live. Like in The Martian, they're living in this domed area where they don't need a spacesuit, you know? But it's a really, really nasty place, and radiation is a huge problem. Our planet protects us, our atmosphere protects us from the radiation from the sun. Mars's atmosphere is very thin, so we don't have that protection, so radiation is a big issue. The weather is terrible. They have these huge sandstorms that engulf the whole planet. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in a domed area and you're taking, what they're doing now, they have a rover called Perseverance. One of the things on Perseverance is called MOXIE. Mars' atmosphere is carbon dioxide. They're taking the oxygen from the carbon dioxide, they're converting it to breathing air for astronauts. This is happening right now. If they're pulling that air from outside and everything is covered in sand, maybe they can't do that. So there's many, many challenges to be able to colonize Mars. You know, I always say, let's take care of the Earth. You know, let's not think about colonizing Mars, let's protect the Earth. And NASA is really good about doing that. They have what's called spin-offs. Off the Earth, for the Earth. So a lot of things are developed in space that help us on Earth. And NASA is really good about that.
Yeah, I guess when we think about NASA, we only think about space travel, but they actually develop lots of technologies that already in place here, right? Especially in the medical area.
Yes, exactly, in medical area. It's called spin-off. Something that's developed in the space program that's used on Earth is called a spin-off. And then you can see hundreds of things that are developed in the space program we use every day. All of our cell phones, all of our computers, most of the electronics that we have.
Our shoes also.
Yeah.
Our shoes?
Yes.
There's many things. And in your house, there's many things that were developed for that. They also study the oceans. NASA's doing a lot of studying the oceans that people don't know about.
I'm really curious about the oceans. Like, what lies deep in our oceans? Because in space we already have pictures. We have people going there, but in the deep ocean, we don't really know what's in there. We have some pictures of animals that survive without light, without anything, in a huge pressure. And then I would like to know about that as well.
Yeah, you have a good background.
I'm a nerd, so.
I think it's very interesting that NASA is doing all these great things. And NASA really is, to me, is great about educating kids. And if you go to the NASA sites, some of the NASA sites, they have actual lesson plans for teachers, and they have it by age and by discipline. And one of the things I talk to teachers in Brazil, if you go to the NASA sites, you can bring the NASA education into your classroom. And if they say, well, we're not supposed to teach about space, you can use it as an English lesson.
Yeah, sure.
It's all in English. So you can bring these lesson plans, and even though they're about space, they're in English, and don't call them a space, call them an English lesson. And I think it's more fun for the kids to do this, and they learn a lot.
Even for the vocabulary.
Yes.
Because I'm struggling a bit to find the right words because of that. Because in here we mostly learn the basics, not really vocabulary like a space vocabulary. How can I say that? So it's very interesting to have like science in English, I guess. Would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think, again, it's important to me for the kids in school to learn this. Many of them are really, really interested, but they don't have the opportunities, and teachers can't teach it because it's not part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
But if they say we're using it as an English lesson, they can teach it, and the kids can actually learn English and about space at the same time.
Did space help you with your English?
Yes. And
Yes.
something that I think that's fantastic about Gabe, because he's an engineer, and he work at NASA, he begins to make presentations in schools. How that you felt this, that you would like to talk with kids in school?
Yeah, it actually happened really by accident. I have a newsletter that I send to schools, and it goes around the world. And a friend of mine said, I have somebody to add to this newsletter. And I added this teacher to the newsletter. And she was in South Africa. And every day she would write to me. And the kids were at third grade, they were 8 years old. And the kids would write to me. And we're writing back and forth and writing back and forth. And when I had this newsletter, I always thought it'd be fun to go to the schools and meet the kids, but I didn't know how. So the kids came to America. I spent a couple of weeks. They asked me to go to Africa. So when I went to Africa, I was talking with the kids, and the American embassy said, we have somebody from NASA. We want them to do a presentation. I had never done a presentation in my life. When I was in high school, if I had to give a talk, I did not go to school. For 4 years, every time I had to give a talk, I did not go. I was really afraid to talk in school. So the fact that I do all of this now is amazing to me. But when I was in South Africa, the American embassy said, we want you to do this. I didn't have a chance to say no. So I found myself in front of 400 kids in this big auditorium. I had a couple of CDs, and I just basically talked about what I do. And it went over so well. Everybody really enjoyed it. So I said, when I go back to America, I have a way to meet the kids I'm writing to. And that's kind of how it got started. And from there, it evolved now to full-time, just all fun. It's just amazing. 18 countries I've been to doing this.
Cool. When you go there, what do they find most interest about the space program?
I think everybody's a little bit different. Wherever their main interest is, you can find something about Mars. You can find something about almost anything related to space. There's such a big variety. And they have 2 IMAX theaters where you can actually watch 3D movies, which are kind of cool. So I think there's so many things. It just depends on the person, what they find most interesting. But I think the total experience is something they never forget.
That's pretty cool. And I guess we all have like this doubt in our minds, like what's really going on? And NASA, what's the future of the space program? What they will, because they say that Mars is the future, but why Mars? Like, what's special?
One of the reasons Mars, to me, again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an astronomer, but as an engineering mind, one of the reasons Mars is so critical is it's really the only place we can go. It takes 7 months to get to Mars. It takes 10 years to go to Pluto. You can't put a person in a ship for 10 years. So Mars is reasonably the only one that's close enough to go to. And scientists believe billions of years ago, Mars was a lot like Earth. That it had oceans and lakes and rivers, even an environment like Earth. So I think something may have lived there at one time or may be alive today. That's one of the reasons to go. If you try to go towards the sun, it's so hot, you can't go that way. Yeah. So Mars is kind of the only one we can reasonably go to today with our technology. Maybe in the future, you can learn to go 1,000 times faster or 10,000 times faster. You could go to the other planets. But now we're kind of isolated on Mars because it's the only one, to me, that's reasonable to get to. 7 months is still a long time. Yes. And you have to stay 23 months. So when you go on this mission, you're gone for 3 years. And it's a miserable place. I love the beach. There's no beach on Mars. I'm not going to Mars. I would like to go to the moon. It takes 3 days to go to the moon.
That's really close.
I could go 3 days, hang out, come back. But I'm not going to Mars. So.
I actually have a question about the moon. Like, we went to the moon years ago.
Yes.
Where the computers were like, they weren't as powerful as they are today.
Right.
So what are the difficulties that they had in this mission? Like, because today we can send robots to the moon, to Mars, but before it wasn't like that. So
it was really interesting for me. I'm always on the beach. I love being on the beach. And a few years ago, I was on the beach, and somebody said to me, "Do you want to meet Buzz?" And I said, "Buzz who?" And they said, "Buzz Aldrin." So Buzz Aldrin was the second person to walk on the moon. And when they said Buzz, I said, "Buzz who?" They said,
Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear got his name from Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. So when they said Buzz Aldrin, I said, "The guy that was on the moon?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "Of course." So I got to hang out with this guy, only one of 12 people to ever walk on the moon for about an hour on the beach.
Really cool.
And what he was talking about, what it was like during that time to try to go to the moon. Our cell phones have more capability than computers that were half the size of this room 60 years ago. And so think of the challenges to overcome all of that. And so he talked a lot about that, as well as a lot of the processes they were trying to develop at that time to go to the different planets. So yeah, it's amazing what they did back then. And I remember when they said they were going to go to the moon. There's no way they're going to the moon. What's wrong with these people? And it was really fascinating to see them do it. And I believe without the space race, without Russia, we might not have gone to the moon. It was just the idea that really generated the country to take advancements that they probably never would have done as quickly as they did. So the space race, to me, really generated a lot of confidence, a lot of interest, and allowed us to go to the moon. And it's pretty amazing when you think about what they did 60 years ago.
It is really amazing.
And we will return because you have another race to go to the moon between China and the United States now. There is another motivation.
Yeah, India as well. India is going to the moon. That's the thing I talk with the kids now. There's many countries now going to space that never went before. There's commercial companies. SpaceX, I know, is an amazing commercial company. It may go to the moon and Mars before anybody else does.
Yes.
They really have the capability. They're learning, and they're a commercial company, so they're generating income. They're not just spending money. They're generating income at the same time. So lots of things are happening, and I encourage the kids, especially kids now, 8, 9, 10 years old. By the time they're adults, we don't even imagine what they're going to be doing. I was at a guy in a mall in Brazil, and he was talking about his 4-year-old daughter, and he only allows her to use the phone certain times a day. But when she's 10, he's going to allow her to use it more. I said, when she's 10, they may not have cell phones. A cell phone may be something in the past. So things are evolving very quickly. It's a fun time, I believe, and every day is a new adventure.
There's a question that I have to ask you. It's related to that. Do you think that there is life outside planet Earth?
There has to be life outside of planet Earth. You know, we have billions, trillions of planets.
Really? So I have to prepare myself for that.
Look, you make that hat look very good.
Yeah, because they might be hearing our thoughts.
Yeah, but we have trillions of planets in our universe. To me, there has to be life somewhere. But I personally don't believe it's been to Earth. I think if it had been to Earth, we would know. I don't think something's going to come here, turn around from millions and millions of light years away and not make contact. Some people believe it's here. Some people say they're walking along, a ship picked them up, brought them up into space, examined them, and
Like
brought
that.
them back down. Yeah, and brought them back down. And I don't say they're wrong, but I don't believe it's true. But I don't say they're wrong because they believe it. But I really believe if it had come here, we would know. You know, I really believe that. But that's my view. It's just my personal view. And but I believe it has to exist. It's just so far away we don't know about it.
Yeah, I think so. I think people have a lot of curiosity about that because I think it's pretty impossible that we are alone here in the universe. I guess people have curiosity about Area 51.
So Area 51, I get asked about Area 51 a lot. And, you know, I'm not an expert in this area, but Area 51, to my understanding, was a place the Air Force was developing top secret aircraft. Aircraft that radar could not detect, fighters and bombers. And they were doing it Area 51. They didn't want anybody to know about it. So the people who worked in Area 51 actually got in a plane in Las Vegas, Nevada, and flew someplace. They didn't know where they were going. They got off at the plane, they did their job, they got on a plane, they came back. Once these aircraft became operational, which they are now, the stealth fighters and bombers, that Area 51 became more public. But people swear they had an alien in there 60 years ago, and they would not tell anybody. And today, people believe it's there. Again, I believe if it was there, we would know. You cannot keep something like that secret for 60 years. So I don't believe there was ever an alien there, but many people still do.
Yeah,
they really do. And I tell them, you have your right to believe what you want, but I just don't believe it. I think we would know. You cannot keep something like that secret. And I know about the Air Force side of it. They were developing these fighters and bombers there. And so you can Google it now and you can see a lot about Area 51. But there's people, every time I do a talk, they ask me about Area 51.
Yeah, I had because I love like those alien stories, as you can see that.
Yeah. I get asked all the time about the question you just asked, and I always give the same answer. But I always say it's my view, you know. And if you believe there's aliens somehow on Earth running around pretending to be or making, I don't know what you believe, that's your right to believe it, and I would never criticize you.
So maybe I still need that. We have some mysteries now in the universe, like life outside planet Earth, even though they're not here, but they could be somewhere else. But we have a theory. I don't think I can even call it a theory, but there are people that say the Earth is flat. What do you have to tell us about that?
So, yeah, I actually in the presentation I talk about the flat Earth. So, if somebody says to you the Earth is flat, all you do is say yes and walk away. Don't waste your time to argue. Don't try to change your mind. I have a nephew. He believes the Earth is flat.
Really?
Really. And so I don't argue with him. I just walk away. You know? But because you cannot change, most of the time the people just want to argue with you. They want to upset you. They're trying to get you angry. If you say yes and walk away, it defeats their whole cause. And I say to you, you probably don't want that person in your life anyway. So you're not losing anything. But just say yes and walk away. But we know the Earth is round.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And it's beautiful. Now with the James Webb Telescope, we see the planets like never before. Many of the planets are really, really pretty. But to me, the Earth is still the prettiest. You know, we have all this water, and we have just so much beautiful parts of our planet. And I think it's beautiful, and we know it's round.
Yes, I guess I would rather be abducted than hear someone telling me the Earth is flat. What do you guys think about that? About all these mysteries and all these theories that the people invent about what's going on Earth or in the universe.
And when they know that someone is from NASA, look at NASA, they try to find some answers, to have some answers about these mysteries. And many of is a problem that you have today with fake news.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
I think that few years ago, I think it will be difficult to find someone that says that the Earth is flat. But nowadays we find many people that believe in it.
Yeah.
And they believe in everything that comes from WhatsApp. Someone send a message and they say that someone at NASA that says that it is. But as Gabe said, Carl Sagan said this. No?
Yeah.
That we believe in many things. No? Yeah. Then it's necessary that we consider the science as the best tool that you have. It's because of the science that you have all this technology now, that you have the smartphones, that you have everything in all this. Then, if you don't believe in science, why are you using the WhatsApp to send messages? No? This is a product of what the man developed. No?
I think maybe it could be something like a subjective experience, because some people are like, I need to see to believe, and it's more easy to see that the flat thing than search something about science. We need to use science. Math is the language of the science, so we have ways to discover how can I explain the universe. So we need to have sorry, we need to discover the universe. So we need to use science, math, physics in general, and it's more sometimes easier to believe in what we are just seeing than to study. So I don't know, maybe that's my view of this theory, because some people are like, I need to see to believe. So we need to maybe talk more about science.
Yes.
And maybe the best option is, I agree, and walk, or just turn around and try to reinforce the science, and maybe give the light in the life of these people with the science.
Yeah, I really don't know why they think. I think it's very interesting what you said, that they see the Earth flat, so they believe it's flat. They don't see the curvature of it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. It's a really interesting way. I always try to wonder what makes them think the way they think. To me, the most important thing and the most challenging thing in life is getting along with people. And the only way you get along with people is to try to think like them, understand the way they think, and then you accept their view as that view. So I'm always trying to understand, why do people think the way they do? And what you just said is very interesting to me, and probably true. I just never thought about it before.
Sometimes when when we were doing presentations, we just hear a lot of a lot of thoughts of people, and many times they have some people that really believe in the flat Earth, and sometimes they just trying to explain the horizontal thing, the Earth is flat because I am seeing this, that is, or the Earth is how can I stuck, not moving,
not rotating.
Yes, because I am seeing it. Because of course when we study, when we use the science, we can prove that it's moving, but if we just cancel all these things, we were seeing different things. So sometimes it's more easier to believe what I see than study. So that's why I think maybe the reason of all this theory is subjective things.
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective, and I've never thought of it, but I think you're correct. When I do the presentations, I talk about the Earth spinning, and I talk about going around the sun, and how long it takes and how fast we're moving around the sun and we're spinning. You don't feel it because it's so big, but like you said, I think it's a very good observation. If they don't see it, they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And it's probably true about the flat Earth as well, but it's really funny to me. But I don't try to argue with people. I just leave them alone. Most of the time, I don't know what drives them to do that, but like I said, I just walk away.
Yeah.
I'd say yes and walk away. I don't waste my time.
Just give them clues and yeah.
Yeah, I tried with my
Think
nephew
about
and it didn't work. So.
Your nephew doesn't. Gabe, you said you've never been to space, but would you like to?
Oh yeah, I'd like to. I was at the Space Center for 17 years, and every day when I went to work, I brought a little bag with me. If they say, Gabe, we have one seat, I was packed and ready to go.
Now is your time to shine.
Yeah, I would go tomorrow if they said, hey, Gabe, we got one seat, I'm gone. But I don't want to go to Mars. But
Where do you want to go?
No, I would go anywhere. I would just go up in space, or I'd go to the moon. I don't want to be gone for 3 years. You know, I like the beach and I like living on the earth too much to be gone for 3 years. It takes a special person to give up life as we know it for 3 years.
Yes.
7 months you're going to be on a ship. You're a small confined ship. You've got to stay mentally and physically alert. When you get there, you're in a foreign place. There's nothing like what we have here. And again, there's many dangers there because of radiation, because of sandstorms, because of the atmosphere, the weather. Everything about Mars is miserable. They had this program called Year One. I don't know if you ever heard of this program called Year One.
Yes.
People would sign up for a one-way trip to Mars.
Really?
Yeah, they bought tickets, and it was a lot of money. They bought tickets to sign up for this one-way trip to Mars. It's called Year One. And you can Google it. Tells you. I've done it. I've looked at it. It looks pretty interesting.
They shows one. They shows the guy that you go. The contest finisher.
Oh, I don't know.
Is it happening? Is it really
Yes,
happening?
it's a real contest.
Yeah, but they don't have the ship.
Right.
Yes.
And my thought
They
was,
don't have the ticket.
yeah, my thought was, all of these people who signed up, when the ship is on the pad to go, nobody's in the line. That was like, nobody's going to do. Why would you go up there to live in some kind of pod the rest of your life?
And to die.
And to die, you know. But they did have something in that program that talked about bringing them back
Right.
as an option. But it was really small print. But I didn't research it because it was really strange to me that people would do that. But I would love to go to space. You know, if we were in space right now, we'd all be floating around here.
That would be pretty cool.
How much would
Yes.
that be? We'd all be floating around. You know, it would just be great to do that kind of stuff. I think. I have a friend, she's a dancer. Her name is Tina. And she always talked about choreography of going in space and spinning and doing dancing in space where you never stop. You know, so there's a lot of fun things that could be done in space. And
But I have a question. What if we were in space and we were there, like, having a beer in space?
having a beer?
Having a beer in space, is that possible?
Yeah, of course.
Please.
A lot of the things they do in space, they're contained in a container. So you drink out a liquid out of that. But you can actually take any liquid and put it in space and it will float around. It becomes a ball. Now, I don't know with beer, with the fizzing and all that, what might happen. I'm not sure. But if you took water and you poured it out in space, it would become a ball and it would
Right.
float around and you could just drink it. But most of the issues in space is because everything floats, you can't put your food on a tray. So most of the thing is in a container. But they have food from different countries. You can heat it up. You can do, you know, they have 16 nations involved in the space station. So they have food from all these different countries. And the astronauts, most of the astronauts enjoy the food up there. It's just adapt to a way of life. But I would like to go to the space station, hang out for a little while and come back.
And how would we go to the bathroom afterwards?
Ah,
How does it happen?
there's a little movie about how you go to the bathroom in space. It's really, really funny. I really can't narrate it, but basically you're sitting on a toilet instead of water and gravity pulling, you have air sucking everything out of your body. And the guy Chris Hadfield is the astronaut who talks about it, and it's really, really funny. But it's a comical way. You adapt to everything in space.
That is true.
You know,
that
like
is true.
showers. It's hard to take a shower because water goes everywhere. They do have showers, but they take sponge bath. It's a sterile environment. There's no germs, no bacteria. So they just take a cloth and they wet themselves down. For the women, they actually have a way with you, like your long hair. If you were up in space, you would either have to pin your hair up or put it in a ponytail or cut it short. Otherwise, it would be a big powder puff all around your face.
I won't go to space then, just because of that.
But you could put it in a ponytail, you know. So that's a lot of the women do that. But they show, there's one girl, she has really long blonde hair, and they show how she does the shampoo in space. And she actually has something she puts in her hair and she goes through. So they do have a way of staying clean and sterile, you know, like on Earth. But there's no germs, so it's much different environment than, we don't really get dirty in space like you do on Earth.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's fun. It's all fun, and I think when you get one of the cool things for us at Kennedy Space Center, the astronauts live and train in Houston, Texas, at Johnson Space Center. So they will come to Kennedy Space Center to go to space, and we get to talk with them a few days. They go up in space 6 months. They come back down. We get to talk with them again. And for me, as an engineer, I don't really get to know what they're doing, but I hear a lot of the people who are building the things that they're using in space. Mm-hmm. And they say, you know, I built this on Earth. What was it like in space? And it's fun to hear that interchange on what the reality is of what they plan on Earth and how it does in space. I think it's great. It's all fascinating to me.
That's really nice because I watched an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
And they showed a lot. Like, it was on toilets. They were trying to make the toilet work.
Yeah.
So they were like testing on Earth, but in space it's totally different.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, the biggest thing with the toilets in space, they have air. There's air pulling. There's gravity makes everything goes down on Earth. But in space, it doesn't do that. So they pull everything out of your body with air. And this astronaut, he gives a whole story on how they do that. And it's really funny to talk about. But it's all part of our process of learning to adapt. When you go to Mars, you're going to have to adapt. You know, Mars' atmosphere, Mars is about half the size of Earth. So there is gravity holding you down on Mars. But like when you saw the astronauts go to the moon 60 years ago, you know, the moon's gravity is 1/6 of Earth. So they kind of hop around, you know, and these big spacesuits weigh a lot on Earth. But on the moon, they don't weigh that much.
True.
So they're hopping around and they're jumping around. They have to learn to adapt to this environment. It's going to be the same on Mars. They're going to have to learn to adapt to the Martian environment. And it's terrible, you know, that you can't breathe the air. The radiation is bad. These sandstorms are bad. So they're learning to do this stuff on the space station. And that's why the American program now is to go to the moon. To go to the moon, it takes 3 days to get there. They're going to learn to live on the moon and try to solve any problems on the moon before they go to Mars. If you're on Mars and you have a problem, you're 7 months away. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to, it's called Artemis. This Artemis, and Artemis is a very interesting mission. Artemis got its name when astronauts went to the moon in the 60s and 70s. They went under the Apollo program. Yeah. Apollo was the Greek god who loved the moon. Only men went to the moon. Artemis is his twin sister. Her name is Artemis. The mission is called Artemis because women are going to go to the moon for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're doing this now. They've had one test flight. They took the ship is called Orion. They flew it around the moon into deep space, and they brought it back. They're preparing the second mission now. Astronauts will be on this ship, go around the moon, go to deep space, and come back. And the third one, they're going to land on the moon. They're going to build a base on the moon, and they're going to live on the moon. And they're going to try to learn to solve problems on the moon to help them go to Mars.
Really? For how long are they staying on the moon?
They're going to build a base. They're going to live there.
Live there, like really live there?
Yeah, really live there.
That's really cool. I'm really excited to see how it happens. I hope I get to see it.
Yeah, you will see it. It's a little bit behind schedule. That when they did this first test mission, again, I'm not an expert in this, but I just follow it out of curiosity. When they came back, they have to have a heat shield. Mm-hmm. Anytime something comes through an atmosphere, it generates a lot of heat. So it seems they've had some issues with this heat shield. So they're trying to solve these issues now because the next one is going to have people. And they has to be working correctly or the people will die. You know, that's what happened with one of the shuttles. The second shuttle, Columbia, when it came back through the atmosphere, part of the protective tile had come off. Mm-hmm. So it burned up in the atmosphere. So they're really careful to have this heat shield working perfectly. But, you know, maybe it was supposed to be about 5 years away. Maybe it will be 8 or 9 years away. But at that time, people will land on the moon. Men and women will land and live on the moon. And then from there, they'll develop it. But I think SpaceX may be going to Mars first.
Yeah,
you know?
I think so.
So SpaceX may take people to Mars, but they still have to stay there for 23 months before they come back.
Oh, I hope I get to see that. I really love everything related to space. And I think it's really important for not only kids, but everyone to know more and be more interested in science in general. It was a pleasure to have you here. I'm really happy about our hour here. It passed so quickly. But I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad that you two are here as well. And we are finished now our live. And eu quero agradecer a todos vocês que nos assistiram hoje. O Vox PopCast vai ao ar toda quinta-feira, 19h. E eu vejo vocês na semana que vem. Tchau, tchau.